G'day, legends. Welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Big week of footy. Indigenous round. We had Dreamtime at the G. Absolute thriller. North Melbourne, bit of a hiccup at the very end of the game. Cost them. We also had Battle for the Wooden Spoon. Became a blowout. And Collingwood beats its arch rival. Yes, the Mighty Blues. It's all in this show, so lock in, sit down. Let's get into it. All right, legends, let's get into it. Without further ado, welcome, Brendan Cox.
G'day, Mace. What a big win that you guys had over the weekend,
Huge.
and we will talk all about it, but let's jump straight into the clanger of the week because I want to know what yours is.
I've got a great clanger, and you're really loving this one. I see the smile on your face. Kane Corns! Kane Corns, everyone's favorite person in the media. Win played for Moiston Willora. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right.
Oh,
for
Moiston.
The Carlton draft. Moiston. What a beautiful name. Moiston. Let's say it 2 more times. Moiston. They played against Hawksdale, MacArthur. Kane Corns, they thought he was going to come back, be their Lord and Savior. Their team's only won one win and 5 losses. And it's not just the team he played for. The team they're playing against, also 1 win, 5 losses. So no excuses here.
Oh.
You want to know what the end of the result was?
Yeah.
119-point mauling.
Oh, so they
Moiston with Kane Corns got their ass whipped. Whipped. I'm telling you, I don't know who he was tagging on the day, if he needed to tag 12 more players or something on the day. I'm not really too sure, but it was reminding me of the old grand final against Geelong, Kane Corns. Moiston got no love, got their ass handed to him by Hawksdale, and I don't think he's getting redrafted next year, Kane Corns, after this debacle up in Moiston.
Yeah, well, that's rough. So, yeah, I didn't know that the team that he was coming up against also sucked. That kind of makes...
1 and 5, both teams. No excuses here. This is straight down the barrel stuff.
Oh, that's rough. Imagine if you went to the draft and you come out with Kane Corns, like...
This is you saying it, not me.
Ripper. Are you going to sell some tickets to that
Who
game?
would you take? Kane Corns, Nathan Buckley, Jordan Lewis, I think is another one in there. Jonathan Brown. A few of those. Who are you taking first?
Well, I think Bucks went number 1. And
Yeah,
he's
as
pretty
expected.
good. And it's been a while, so like it's it's probably the last time you'll see him running around. So like that'll sell some tickets.
Yeah. Does a hamstring 5 minutes in. It's just like,
But that's the best part.
If he just dart one into 50.
If he does a hamstring 5 minutes in, then he just becomes the coach.
It's true.
So he's
very true.
Very versatile. So my clanger of the weekend, God, we were so close to just a little glimmer of hope, a little bit of sunshine on North Melbourne's rainy days, but alas, it wasn't to be. They stuffed it right up, real bad.
Wild scenes. Who's the player? Who's the person? That's your clanger.
Well, we had Kevy White. We know Kevy White from his time at Collingwood, and he had a front row seat to the interchange. But I don't know who or how they stuffed this one up because there's been a lot said about it over the weekend, and it sounds like it's next to impossible to stuff this up because it's like you've got each team has its own individual AFL representative to check on the interchanges. Their whole sole purpose is to count the number of interchanges and jot them down. When they're coming up to 75, they go, hey, coming up to 75, reel it back in. When they get to 75, they say, hey, you're at 75. Knock it down on the iPad. Big red screen to go, no more interchanges. And they're like, what? Is that like a hard 75 or is that like there's some wiggle room on that 75? Anyway, I think Shields came off with a bit of cramp. 2 went on.
It's never really happened, I feel like. I've never seen this happen, at least.
Probably not to this 75 extent one. Like there's been ones where it's like, they went off the gate wrong and like all of that stuff. But yeah, this one was a shocker. And like in my head, which is funny, and I'm not saying that this is what they're doing. In my head, I was watching the game because there's been a lot of talk about tanking recently. And I was like, you can't tell me looking at this game that North Melbourne is trying to lose. Like they're out there trying to win. And then 2 seconds later, interchange infringement. I was like, oh God, literally pretty much the only way that they could stuff this up. They just did it. So I'm not saying that they are, but it was good timing.
They put up a good fight against Sydney. We'll go into it, but we're going to go into the first game of the round, Port Adelaide versus Melbourne. This one was actually a really, really good game.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen this much rain in one like condensed little spot. It was like, it was hard to see the footy through the rain. And, but that made it equally as impressive, especially when you talk about Zach Butters. 41 touches, 2 goals in the
insane
teeming
in the
rain.
wet.
And then Rosie with the match winner. So, pretty good dynamic duo. Rough news for Melbourne with Clayton Oliver going down with a suspected hamstring. He played out the game.
Yeah.
So they got to assess the scans. It's probably all done by the time this
might be
this
Nick
release.
Dacos goes to the top of the list for the Brownlow now.
Oh, well.
Very interesting.
We got something to talk about with Nick Dacos. Not sure if you saw it.
No, didn't see anything, Brayden. Move on to the next. I want to talk about this. Brody Grundy. Yeah, shout out to Gruds. Love him. Gave the shh to the Port Adelaide crowd.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Port Adelaide came back and won the game, so it didn't.
Rough, because I liked it.
Early call in the third, Brody.
Yeah, I liked it, and
I loved it.
So it's technically his home crowd, being an Adelaide boy, going back home, telling him to shut up, only to be overrun. Big win for Kenny Hinkley, who we love and constantly shout out.
Kenny.
Constantly shout
He
out.
was hyped.
Yeah, did you see his dance post game?
I mean, he's someone I think should go on Dancing with the Stars. If he can win Dancing with the Stars, that is a miracle after that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
love Kenny Hinkley, but that was like, I don't even know like if it was a dance or a celebration or in between. It was kind of been everything.
Yeah, it was.
I love
it had a jig about it. It was a jig.
That's a good way to put it, as a jig. But I want to say Port Adelaide and Melbourne, 2 best jumpers of the round, I think. Indigenous jumpers this week, very cool. One of my favorite things that happens. And Port Adelaide, really cool how the way they made it into kind of very similar into their normal jerseys. And then Melbourne actually had a friend of mine do theirs, which was really cool. So
really?
I had a bit of a connection there. So shout out the 2 jumpers also on the day that got a bit of a look. But yeah, awesome. Big fan. Biggest thing out of the week for that game though was Ken Hinkley's jig.
Yeah, great. I'm sure he'll love that. Another jumper that I really liked was North Melbourne's. Like predominantly white with blue through it into the blue shorts. I thought it looked super clean, super cool. And yeah, this one was a real rough one. We've already kind of touched on the North Sydney game, but let's dive into it because it was one of those chances for North to come out and get a win with a part-time coach in, with Alistair Clarkson stepping away during the week. So big week for North, and to, Sydney's up against it. Sydney's on a bit of a losing streak as well. So, a lot on the line for these 2 teams. What did you see coming out of this one?
I mean, the big kind of story is obviously the interchange thing, but I think it was a credit to North Melbourne, like the chaos that's happened this week, and the new coach, and prayers up to Alistair Clarkson. Like, in all honesty, it's I can't imagine putting myself in his situation right now, and if it's best for his mental health and everything, we're fully supportive of him stepping away for a bit, and that's just that's the matter of fact of life. Sometimes you need to prioritize yourself and your family. So prayers out there to Alistair Clarkson, but in a crazy kind of tumultuous week, for them to be able to go up against Sydney, who you said was backs against the wall, Buddy Franklin, played pretty well on the day, but I just think that they put up such a good fight, and it's so unfortunate that this whole interchange thing cost them the game, because that would have been such a great win for the club, just to be able to go to Marvel home game in front of a home crowd and show them that they actually still are out there to try to win games. And unfortunately, as we talked about, the problem at the very end cost them a 50-meter penalty and a free kick and inside their defensive 50 and cost them the game. And yeah, it's just it's something you don't want to see, because that's something you can actually change that. That's not effort based. That's not anything else. That's purely just like focus. And it's not only players, probably. It's more also the staff and admin around the interchange situation, because it's very stern. Like when you're coming on and off, there's someone there to make sure you go inside the gates, make sure you kind of, do that. Even whenever you come off at quarter time, then make sure you come back out through the gates whenever you go to quarter time, which makes no sense, by the way, but that's the way the IFL works, so we got to listen. And they're listening now. Hello.
Hey, you said you don't like grey areas, and they've finally got a hard and fast black and white rule. You should love all that.
The siren goes at quarter time. It should matter. Like, it's not like you're going to go on, like, if you go through the gates or not, it makes no difference. Anyway, we move on. But that was the big thing, unfortunately. But shout out to North Melbourne. I think they put up a fight against their, not only Sydney had their backs against the wall, but North Melbourne in the situation they had. I thought it was incredible what they put up. And
yeah, likewise, I guess Sydney got the win that they needed. So, they're still in it. I reckon there was a moment of resignation almost, as North were probably 2 goals up, and I think Shizu, who was playing some different positions on the weekend, went forward and had a shot at goal. In the background, I could see Buddy, like, he was like, this is, I feel like there was a moment of reflection there where he's like, this is it. And
he's like, I taught this kid. There was a photo that came out of him and Sheasel earlier too, like 16 years apart. So they're having a kick together at Hawthorn, which is just wild to think. But
when the interchange infringement happened, Buddy's reaction was
hyped.
So hyped. Like,
so hyped.
So there's definitely passion there from the big fella. So it was a big win for him, even though, against North last week, we were saying you go in, you get your 4 points, you roll out. Well, they put up a hell of a lot more fight than, I don't know, I gave them credit for. But they did have a shining light in Paul Curtis.
Yeah, that goal was sick.
It was such a good goal. So kind of laser tackle.
Walk us through it. Yeah, walk us through it, Brad.
Laser tackle, 2 don't argues, and then like a check side. Like doesn't go a dribble or anything, hits the check side, goes straight through. Pretty nuts. Insane
goal from Paul Curtis. But I guess the big question I want to ask about this is the interchanges being capped at 75. Is that really necessary? Is there like a necessity to be able to cap interchanges?
Yeah. Well, the reason I believe that they did it was so players would be like tired, so it would open the game up more.
Yeah.
And it's hard to argue that it's not when the game's in the state that it's in. Like I feel like footy's been really fun to watch, high scoring, when coaches allow it to be high scoring. But yeah, I can't really complain about it. What's your issue with it?
I don't know. I think about West Coast Eagles at the moment, how many injuries they're having and everything else. I guess there's benefits of maybe a high scoring game, but also, you don't have as fresh of people in there, so you're not getting as many highlights out of games whenever it comes to that. So I always kind of thought like interchanges shouldn't matter. Like you should have an infinite amount of interchanges, and it means you get the freshest players out there doing the craziest things like Ash Johnson did over the weekend, taking hangers and things like that. So I always thought whenever we went from 90 to 75 was such a weird decision. It is what it is. The AFL's going to do what they want, but I never quite understand why we cap interchanges and then we talk about player welfare and health of players, and then everyone starts getting injured again.
I reckon it'll probably have its time to change again. Back in the day,
well, they have to change something every year, Braden. Otherwise, they're not justifying their job.
I don't like your tone. Back in the day, you used to be able to get named and you just sit on the bench for the whole bloody game. Like they never used to do rotations. I remember Swanee was saying like, he'd need higher numbers because he's just got to come on, burst, do something amazing, go have a break, have a smoke.
Have a smoke up. All right, we'll move into the next game. Bulldogs versus Adelaide out in Ballarat.
Now, look, we normally have a fair few dot points jotted down for each game, but there's not a lot down here for the old Bulldogs Adelaide game. It was, we all do love the Ballarat games. They're fun out there at whatever stadium it's
Still
called
waiting
now.
for the Telegraph to tell us what happened to come in. So,
oh man, but I can tell you that it was a really interesting one because Bulldogs look good. So Bulldogs are back on, and we know
Adelaide's a good team.
Yeah, Adelaide's legit, but they decided to rest Tex Walker. Now I don't know if this is like I got to catch the plane to Melbourne, get on a bus, drive out to. I just skip this one. It's like, yeah, well, mate, you're 40, have a rest at home. So maybe it's a bit of that, but they could have definitely used his scoring power up forward. And yeah, unfortunately, Jason Johannesson looks like he's done a pretty nasty hamstring. Had to kind of walk back to the bench.
Just running. It's like bang. And it's like, oh, yep, that's the hamstring. Right away, you can tell it.
Yeah, not good. But Bulldogs with another important win. They just keep racking them up. Adelaide, Ross gave Saints a mulligan last week. I feel like this is probably Adelaide's mulligan.
Yeah.
To go to Ballarat, it's not a very enjoyable trip. For us, we can cruise out there. It's just up the road. Adelaide, it's a fair hike. They're probably better to just drive from Adelaide.
Yeah, well, it's probably, I don't even know. I don't know where Ballarat is, so. I know I've played there, but I couldn't tell you. I think out of this game, the Bulldogs going well. Adelaide, mulligan.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
We're going to the next one. Fremantle versus Geelong. Hey, is Flagmantle back? Let's be real. Are we getting on the Flagmantle train? Choo-choo!
I reckon you have to, right?
You have to.
They've played some back-to-back good footy. So, the pressure valve, a little release for old Longy over there.
Longy, shout out.
But yeah, it's good. It's good to see him up and about. Geelong, it was a bit of a stumble for them because, they started slow, then they got their groove going. And then I don't know if the barometer, Jeremy Cameron. Now I've been joking about this week on week.
Pumping him up. He's not gone so well.
I've been kind of joking about this week on, week off. Jez, 10 touches, 0 goals, 4 behinds. It's look, what do you say? What do you say?
Jez will be back next week. 10 goals, 20 touches, 8 behinds.
But Walters came out with 3 for Freo and Stengel with the 2 on return. So those
Walters always a gun. Indigenous round comes around, Walters absolutely murders it.
Always does something.
Every time.
Always does something. But yeah, I think Flag Mantle are back.
Flag Mantle's in the contention nowadays.
Back to panic stations for Geelong. Already. Oh, the wheels are falling off down at Geelong. Now let's move across to the Brisbane Gold Coast Q Clash Bonanza that we all, when the fixture comes out, you get the calendar, big circle, bang, Q Clash coming up. And was it an absolute barn burner? It lived up to all expectations. What was the score?
I don't know. Brisbane won. Brisbane played Gold Coast. Brisbane convincing win. Cool thing, Barry family reunites. So the 2 Barry brothers played each other, which was pretty cool. I always think it thinks back to like the Mackay brothers. Are they not brothers?
No, I was just thinking it was the worst joke ever.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
The brothers Cran and Straub.
Anyway, so we move on.
Do you get it? Cran and Strawberry?
I do. It's terrible. And if someone's laughing, you should be embarrassed.
That's fucking shocking. That's why I didn't want to say it.
It's terrible if that makes the podcast. Sign of the times. The Perry family does play each other. Pretty cool. Not going to lie. I always think like growing up in the family, being able to 2 brothers play. Can you move on from this joke?
Cran and Straw, mate. I'm crying.
Oh, jeez. Anyway.
Yeah, they're good.
They're good.
The Berry brothers.
Q Clash. That was a ripper this week.
Oh, good game.
Anyway, Joey D kicks 4. We'll move on. Essendon versus Richmond. Dreamtime at the G. Like one of the best on the calendar. One of the best games on the calendar. Pre-match entertainment. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The lights come down, they've got the entertainment. It's seriously one of those things you look forward to every single year. And big game for both teams. They are in desperate need of a win. Yeah,
and both teams are thereabouts. They're just, knocking on the door just outside the 8. But, Jack Harlow.
Yeah, he's getting around it, eh?
Yeah, he actually called it an instant classic.
Ooh.
So I don't know how much, as you might remember when he came to Australia, he was getting around it. He was getting around the goal umpires, the old school ones in the white coats.
He had like a Fremantle hat on at some point, I think.
The Fremantle bucket.
Random though, because this game would have been on about 4 a.m. Jack, what are you doing? What are you doing at 4 a.m. there, Jack Harlow? What could you have been up to?
I'm just thinking he's diehard, sets the alarm.
That's it.
Wakes up early.
But he's sitting on his just plush couch going, boys and girls, Dreamtime at the G is happening this week.
Gets up early, coffee, porridge, sits on the couch.
Don't think it's coffee. I hate to break it to you, right?
Oh, but
Red Bull vodka maybe is more his thing.
Plenty to pull out from this game. Sam Wiedemann.
Yeah, shout out Sam. Hey, he was smoking fools in the first half. He just was everywhere, I felt like. And for a person, I think you just kind of go to SN. You think of, you've got the big fella up forward. What's his name?
2 meter Peter.
No. You got Jake Stringer up forward.
That's the guy.
You got 2 meter Peter. You got Tip and Woody. You got these big names in the forward line. And Sam just doesn't get the love that they do.
He's complimented them well.
Yeah, he has very well. And it's a shout out to him because he played really well over the weekend.
He's starting to find consistent form, which is awesome to see. And then obviously Durham with the match winner, marks it in the square off the Stringer kick, goes back, puts it through, pretty much seals the game then and there. Massive win for Essendon and,
Yeah, they came home strong, kicked 4 of the last 5 goals.
Finals bound? Maybe.
That's it. Who knows? Also, I want to give a little shout out also before the game, all the Indigenous players coming forward together arm in arm. I thought that was a really powerful moment. Really cool to see, them be able to lock arms and just kind of show a sign of solidarity. So really well done, Essendon Richmond on the night, putting it all together. It is a phenomenal sight and one of those on the calendar. I think that definitely sticks out as one of the best games of the year.
Well said, mate. But speaking of phenomenal sights, Hawthorn, West Coast.
Dude.
Now, when the fixture
What?
drops, circle it in the calendar. Bang! Hawthorn,
Bang, the
West
wooden
Coast.
spoon. Game of the century.
Who would have anticipated that it would all basically culminate? Hawthorn, West Coast Eagles, and the battle zone, neutral territory, Tasmania. So they head down there. Everyone's thinking it's going to be on for young and old here. It's going to be the tightest clash we'll see this year. Wow. Mace, I don't know if you watched this game, but Hawthorn killed them, murdered them in front of everyone. Mitch Lewis kicked 6. It's grim for West Coast. There was not a lot of fight there.
Did they have injuries? If they had injuries, I mean, it's just.
I mean, they have injuries, but
they've got like 20 plus people on their like injury list at the moment. Insane.
Yeah, it was brutal. I don't think. When was the last time you could remember a team down the bottom of the ladder having a 100-point win?
Yeah, never. Whenever I heard it, I thought it was a joke. I thought someone was like playing. I was like, "There's no way." I'm like, sorry, what? And maybe the whole thing is because Tasmania at the moment, this whole stadium debacle, and them not knowing if they're going to get a team now because they're not sure if they want to put the funding to it. Maybe Hawthorn's going, "Hey, it's time. Our turn to step up. We will be your Tasmanian team.
We're going to take back Tasmania.
We're taking back Tassie."
Yeah, well, I don't know. Obviously, it's so hard to judge where a team's at when it's just decimated by injury. So it's hard to really put it on them. But at the same time, I feel like Perth doesn't really give a shit. Like, they're diehard footy supporters, and when you're getting beaten by 100 points, probably got to show a bit more fight, a bit more heart than that. You can't be losing by 100 to Hawthorn, but I think they're on the back page of the West Australian this morning. So,
West Coast, you wouldn't believe that.
bit of pressure. You wouldn't celebrate Freo's big win over.
Adam Simpson's got a lot of questions coming his way, and I feel for the man because it's a tough position to be in with so many injuries. But yeah, University of Tas Stadium, whatever it is, UTAS Stadium down there got an absolute showing for the Hawthorn Football Club.
Yeah, it was great if you go for Hawthorn. Bit of shine on them for what's been a pretty dreary season. Now, I look forward to this game. I thought, GWS is really competitive this year, and Saints, question marks, always question marks.
Started off there strong.
And Saints got their big key forward, Max King, back, and you thought, it'd probably take him a bit to, ease back into the game. Nah, not Max. Nope. Not Max. He just came back, kicked 4 on return. Boy, is this going to be a bit of a game changer for St Kilda, having that big key forward back?
They've had injuries. Everyone, I feel like it kind of went under the radar because they're winning games and stuff, but they had injuries kind of started the season, and now they're getting a few people back, and they're only building. They're only building St Kilda. I think they're going to be in the top 8 by the end of the year. So picking people like Max King back definitely helps them in their strive for finals.
Now, there was a bit of controversy there. Someone took a mark. You're manning the mark, right?
Yes.
And they say, "Hey, Darcy, 2 meters back. Darcy, 2 meters back. Can't, Darcy. 50 meters. Against you, Darcy." And then they make you walk back.
Off my fucking chops.
Well, that's kind of what happened in this game. They were like, "Yeah, Brent, mate, back 2 meters. Come on, mate. Brenna. Oh, Brenna.
Hey, Brenna Bags.
It turns out it wasn't Brenna Bags. It was O'Halloran. So he didn't go back because he's calling out
his name.
It's not his name. 50-meter penalty against him. Yeah, I feel like that would have gone down an absolute treat if it was you.
Dude, I would have been flipping. I would have been so pissed.
Mitch Owens was probably the shout out. We'll give him a prayers up. Hope ball recovery is going well, but unfortunately copped a knee in the contest and went out and had to get carted off the ground. So not great, but he did finish the match. He came up and watched the rest of the game on the bench.
Yeah.
So it was good to see him back up out of the rooms.
Yeah, and GWS with the loss, St Kilda with a win. Now, the big thing is Toby Green plays 200 next week versus Geelong. Toby Green 200. You best believe he's kicking 12.
Yeah.
He's kicking.
I was just thinking, like,
everything.
Imagine if he hadn't gone through his suspensions, it could be game 300. Now, all right. The time's finally arrived.
Everyone's been waiting for it.
Now, genuinely, when the fixture comes out, Collingwood Carlton, circle it in the calendar. Bang. There
AFL
it is.
Goes Sunday 3:20. Let's do it in prime time, ladies and gentlemen.
There's something about this game always falling on that, like, Sunday 3
shout out
3
to the
o'clock
fans,
slot.
though, because there's over 80,000 there still. Even whenever AFL stuffs up the schedule, fans still show up.
Oh, and just, just one of those situations I feel as a fan, external to you, in all opinions. A lot of Carlton fans were just walking into what they knew was going to be a slaughter. I saw someone on Twitter say, please pray for us today. That's what they're leaning on at the moment. And all the prayers were not answered because pretty much got it to the margin in the first quarter and then coasted that for the rest of the game. Great win by Collingwood over the rivals Carlton. Plenty of talking points. Last week we talked about you putting Haynes on a poster. Well, the favour was returned with Big Ash Johnson taking a specky. And who's underneath? He's sitting on your head, mate.
Yours truly.
What the bloody hell was going through your head? Besides his shin when that was all happening.
Well, he's gone. I'm sitting on the goal line. I'm going, Ash, go and 10 and 2, maybe get the crumb if it goes short, right? He's gone, get fucked, mate. I'm launching here. And I'm against the ruckman, right? There's about 4 Carlton players there, right? Sam Weiderman just throws me under the ball, just shoves me onto the ball from behind. Ash Johnson goes, I'll go on top of the ruckman, but nay, get my leg up on his shoulder, take a hanger, go lateral to the ground, or parallel to the ground. I get shoved underneath Ash. Ash essentially does a 360 over my head. I'm confused as to what happened. I turn around thinking maybe I got a free kick here. I'm looking at Ash on the ground with his back going, oh, my back hurts. And I'm like, he actually has the football. Holy shit. And then he's gone back. And I'm looking at the scoreboard. I'm going, he's taking a hanger over me. Oh, no, I've been posterized. For the first time in my career, I've finally been posterized by my own player of all.
At least it was a teammate.
Oh, at least it was a teammate. And it was a spectacular specky.
And it was, so he technically took it over both. So he got up on one ruckman and finished onto the other one, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, I could feel you coming out of it being did I mark it? Did I get it?
Did something happen? Was it positive? And everyone was just standing around. I was
the crowd's cheering. It must be for me. You had a little help this week with Darcy Cameron coming back in. How did that feel to get, a bit of a rest? You went up forward. We'll get to that.
It was good to get a bit of forward time. I was dog shit, but other than that, no, it was good to have Darcy Cameron back. He dominated in the ruck, especially when Silvani came in. He the first quarter, second quarter, he was able to get on top of him, get some center clearances out of there, and be able to get us on the scoreboard. So yeah, it's good to essentially have the 2 rucks, because essentially once they get their second ruck in, who might be a forward that's getting pinch hit in there, it's we really kind of get that dominant center clearances or stoppages around the ground, which is beneficial for us. So yeah, it was good to have the second ruck in there and always have a legitimate ruck in the middle, and the other one is able to play forward a bit.
It always shocks me how tall Silvani is when it goes down to the forward line, and he's taller than Charlie Kerner. God, he's deceptively tall.
He is deceptively tall. Wears a massive shin guard.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
So another couple of good players coming out of this. We've known it forever. Won a Brownlow medal, but Tom Mitchell, he's really starting to find his groove in
he's going under the radar though. I feel like he's in an under game. Unreal.
Yeah.
He is ridiculous when it comes to that. And this man, I don't know how to say this anymore, because I feel like everyone talks about how much he actually loves football. You will see him in the gym every single day. He's just juggling footballs, playing basketball, whatever it is. He's obsessed. He's an obsessed person whenever it comes to AFL. And it's cool to see him, be successful. He's probably not getting the credit in the media and stuff of what he's doing, because there's other players, you had the Darcy Moore, the Nick Dacos, and all that kind of stuff. He's an inside mid. But the cool thing about it is he's playing his role, and it might not be glitz and glamour and, all sunshine stuff, but he's doing it so well. And he's one of the reasons I think we're being so successful out of the midfield at the moment is people like him playing his role and, sacrificing maybe some statistics and stuff to be able to make sure we're going to get the benefit out of the center.
And to be fair, it's probably the role that you needed for such an elite midfield for such a long time. Clearance, needed to be a bit improved, and it's always good for you, the ruckman. You can just tap it down anywhere and he gets the clearance. It gets that hit out to advantage stat. Get those numbers up. Now, there's always a blue when you come up against the Navy Blues. And it was, I didn't see it coming from Josh Dacos, but Maynard appeared, but Josh had a good one. He had his. He was walking around looking like Tarzan there for a second.
Like 10 minutes too. I was like, yeah, you stay out there on the far wing, sir. You really just. And he was at one point got there and he was out into space, and it's like his jersey's like flapping around,
flapping in the wing with his mullet as he runs down.
His Tarzan look, just flapping in the wind. It was hilarious, and he's got Riggs elite, so he would have been real happy with that. He got the rip jumper. There's a bit of a scuffles here and there. Pendles and Cripps got into it on the boundary line, which was quite funny.
I forgot about that. That's really interesting. And there's a history there of Pendles laying the tag on Cripps.
Yep, he did over the weekend.
So I feel like he always just thinks that he's got his number. There was one that he talked about a couple of years ago where Cripper had like 30 and kick 3 on him or something. And Pendles at halftime, Bucks is like, mate, you got to turn the screws a bit. You got to shut him down. He's like, I'm trying, mate. I'm trying.
He's a decent player.
So Bucks gave him a spray, and then Brownlow night comes around. S. Pendleby, 3 votes.
3 votes. There was a funny moment in the game, and so Pendles and Cripps are getting into it right, and it's right on the substitute line. I'm about to go in. And they're kind of like, jumper going at each other and whatnot. And I'm sitting there like waiting for the player to come off so I can get into the scuffle. Like as soon as the player comes off, I'll straight beeline it for Cripps, get into Cripps, start like pushing him, whatever it is. And for some reason, as soon as the second I touch Cripps, Pendle's gone. He's like, oh, you got him, see ya. I'm out. I'm going for 50. It was so funny to me. But there was a few other little scuffles, and there was one on the boundary, and I got told to stand on the mark, and I'm sitting there going like, I want to get over there. It was like 2 meters away from me, but I couldn't. I'd give up the free kick if I went into the scuffle. So I had to stand there and just 2 meters away watch Braden Maynard go ape shit.
He can hold it up until you get there.
Loved it.
That's what the Pendles one, now that you mention it, it cuts to that little, fight when you get there for like all of 2 seconds on the broadcast and you look so fired up. The funny thing is you always have to hunch down. Like at least Cripps is a big unit. Yeah. But you always like have to fight down on people.
I'm always punching down on others.
Now, speaking of punching down, your goal kicking was so. There's a bit to this,
right? You jinxed me, first of all.
And I knew that you'd be thinking that I jinxed you. So from at the start, I was like, oh, yeah, funny. Missed one from the pocket. Maybe that's the Bermuda Triangle that he's always talking about. Yeah. Then I was like, okay, funny. Missed one from dead in front, 20 out. Then I'm like
2 weeks in a row, too.
I'm like, oh, God, this is going to come back to me. So, bit about this. So Travis Cloak last week did an interview. Yeah. Gave Mason shit for the finger wave. Yeah. Said you got to hit out with the double cobras. So all week I've been texting Mason, you got to do the double cobras. I got that clip ready. Hit with the double cobras. I'll be ready. I'll clip it up. You had shots. Silver lining. I was already thinking the sell.
4 shots on goal.
I'm like, you're having the shots there, mate. The accuracy will come. What was going through your head? Because I was thinking, and I said to my housemate, he'll be thinking this is all my fault because I've jinxed him talking about it all week.
No, just bit of a windy day, right? The swirl of the MCG. No, stuffed up 3 kicks. Finally, the last one, dead in front, Pendle's silver service, out there. And I was like, surely I can't screw this up. Luckily, slowed that through, gave you the double cobras, didn't make it on broadcast or anything for you. It's almost as if it didn't happen. Not only did you give up on me, I think Channel 7 broadcast gave up on me, and fair call.
Because that was it. I was like, I'm not even going to text you at the end because I'm like, oh, maybe you didn't do it because it's like, you've missed 3 and then you come out and hit him with the double cobras. I'm like, maybe you scrapped it because there was nothing. No photos that I could find, no video, no nothing. You inevitably did send proof that it happened. But yeah, hit him with the double cobras.
For me playing like shit, we'll talk about the one guy who's definitely best on ground. Darcy Moore, holy smokes, broke the record for intercepts marks. He was just, it was bad for them. It was to the point I talked to him after. I said, the ball gets kicked in and like you're running back in defense and you just see Darcy just floating around. You just turn around and start going forward again. Just like there's zero chance he's missing this.
It must be a good feeling. Because it was funny, obviously, Steele 300th next week.
Ooh, new shutout.
And he had an interview post-game with Darcy.
Yes.
And Steele laughed, said, I shouldn't say this.
I shouldn't say this.
And then proceeded to say it. But he was like, Carlton just kept kicking it to him. So he just kept marking it. And I mean, It did look a hell of a lot like that. The thing was that was like confusing to just the innocent bystander. I was like, they'll make an adjustment at halftime and be like, please stop kicking it to him. But it was just a constant progression through the game.
Yeah.
He just kept taking marks,
But just
kept
keep
rebounding.
kicking it long, not knowing that he would be the +1 behind the ball. It was a real interesting idea, and like it was salt in the wound because there's been a lot of talk around their entries into forward 50, and I think it was like halftime they had the same amount of forward 50 entries to us, but we had kicked probably 5 more goals or 4 more goals than them. So it was interesting the way it all happened, and I don't know. There's a few things they'll probably change around in the next few weeks, I think, as far as entries inside forward 50 to hopefully get things turned around. But Darcy Moore on the day, just an absolute freak.
I think a good point that was made on broadcast as well is everyone brings up the point that, they got the 2 Coleman medalists up forward. You think they would be able to score more. But it also does work the other way because you know that they're going to go to them. It's like the easiest reference point. You just look at where they are on the field and you're like, okay, they're going to kick it there. Yeah. So if you're an intercepting defender like Darcy, you can just kind of cruise around, be like, okay.
Stand on him.
Yeah.
And it's going on them.
And get a run and jump at it. But yeah, he was very, very impressive, as was everyone. Like there was so many times where just the run and carry and, constant run, getting back on defense, the pressure. Good signs coming up against North this week. Big game coming up against North this week. But before we touch on it, there was one more thing. Carlton kicked half their goals, all from free kicks. Now, you can't talk about this. Don't talk about this. But
should I give my opinion?
No.
Do you know my honest opinion?
I'm sick of cutting it out.
What's editing?
Charlie Curnow did get some free kicks that
didn't he?
led to a lot of goals by him. So that was, they said they had a lot of scoring shots, same amount of scoring shots. But yes, they were all collected in different ways, that's for sure. Because you had your glasses knocked off a few times. Don't know if you know that.
That's weird. It's almost like you think
don't say anything. I'm just saying that it's a coincidence that your glasses sit on your head, and if they're knocked off, what's that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Anyway, we're jumping forward now.
Move on.
So it is a big week for the club for 2 reasons.
Yeah, massive week for the club.
Steele, 300 games. An amazing accomplishment.
Huge accomplishment.
Especially
one of very few Collingwood players to ever do it too.
Especially from a guy from Shep. Not a lot of people make it out of Shep. What can you say that hasn't already been said about Steele Sidebottle?
I mean, he's been playing long enough to remember. I remember whenever I first started with him, he had hair. That's how long it's been. No, Steele's, he's a legend, man. I've seen him kind of, now start a family and things like that. And I think you get to know players and the stuff on field, that takes care of itself. And obviously Steele's been amazing on that, but it's been great to see him turn into, the family man that he is off the field, with his kiddo Matilda and his wife. It's pretty cool. I don't know, you just kind of see people over the years grow into the different humans that they become. And, we've kind of looked back on a few things with my 100th coming up of some old videos and stuff of myself and how different I look and how much I've changed and stuff. And it's just cool. I think Steele's one of those players that, is just loved by every teammate. Everyone just loves him. He just slots in really well. He's always got a funny joke for all the midfielders. And he's just someone that, brings, adds to the team. And you talk about culture and stuff. You think of people like Steele Sidebottom, who's been there for a long time and has always added to it. So it's awesome to see him get 300. Pretty crazy. And I think they took him off with 10 minutes left in the game just to make sure that we got there. But yeah, it's incredible, and you just can't be anything but happy for him for the accomplishment and the credit that's coming his way this week against North Melbourne on Sunday afternoon at Marvel Stadium at 3:20. So, but it is what it is, and he's had an incredible career and continues to have it. And like you said, he's no signs of slowing down anytime soon.
Well, I'm starting to think the whole thing is don't get the super quick ones, because you got Scott and Steele running around the midfield. They could play.
I'm sure at some point they were quick, but at a certain age, you hit 30 and it's just jumps off the cliff.
But so we can't avoid this one. Mason Cox. Don't know if you know him. Yeah. Post game, Darcy Moore gave you a little clip.
Yeah, stitch up.
They said Mason will try and make it all about him.
He said Mason is big ego.
Massive ego.
So kind, Darcy.
But, they'll cut you down. But 100 games It's a massive accomplishment. As much as it's almost the same.
Steele's the same age as me. He's played 3 times as many games. So
yeah, it's just crazy. We all know kind of the journey in a nutshell, but it's I don't think anyone will really fathom the whole package until it's over. But 100 games, just reflect a bit on your journey and how amazed in yourself are you that you got to this point?
Yeah, it's a long road. Didn't think I'd actually make it, to be honest. Lots of ups and downs and trying times, as they say. Very frustrating at times with everything that kind of happened and the pressure and everything that comes with it. Being a full forward for Collingwood. I talked about the Trav Cloak, essentially one of the most pressured, I guess, positions in sport in Australia because you're playing as probably the most crucified player on the most crucified team in the biggest league in Australia.
And you're American.
And people hate Americans here. Now they love them. It's been a crazy journey. Like in moments like these where you get to 100, you look back on the whole thing and people talk about the different experiences you've had throughout your career and everything that kind of comes with it. And yeah, it's cool, like kind of to be able to share experiences again with people and reminisce and things like that. And, but for me, it's more about Steele this week. I know like 100 games is a big deal and stuff, but like for 300 for Steele, like he's played 3 times as many games. He's a player that will go down in the Hall of Fame for Collingwood, and he's been a hell of a lot better player than I ever have been. But I guess like the uniqueness of my story brings a bit of attention with it. So yeah, it's something that's going to be. I'm excited to celebrate. Whole family's coming to town. Mom and dad are already here. Brothers are coming next week, which would be really cool to have the whole family here again and be able to just celebrate it with them because you're not where you're at without your family and the support they've kind of given you throughout the ups and downs and the opportunities they gave you in life to be able to let you live the life that you're living. So it's pretty humbling to be able to have them there and be able to look back on the career and the last 100 games or 99 games at the moment, but 100 games hopefully after the weekend and have a bit of a laugh at some of the stupid shit I've done and be proud about the other half.
It's been quite the journey, and parents in town, do you reckon they could fathom what this journey was going to turn into when you told them, hey, I'm going to go over and have a crack at playing this footy thing?
We all thought it was a bit of bullshit, to be honest. I guarantee the whole family is just kind of like, he's going on an extended holiday for 3 years. He's going to go to play this random sport called football and see how we go. But the thing is like, I don't know. My mom talked about it recently and she said like Mason just doesn't really give up. And that's one thing, that's just like very evident with him. He just doesn't give up on anything and puts his full effort towards it. And that was kind of what I thought for the 3 years. And I was like, worst case scenario, I'll leave there, no stone unturned, did everything I could. And if 3 years comes and I don't get another contract, then, we move on in life. And fortunate enough, we're 9 years into it now. And it's crazy to look back and think that, the young fella at 23 years old who just finished college and didn't know what he was going to do with his life is now 32 and still has no idea what he's going to do with his life. So, So no, it's awesome now to look back on it and just to enjoy some of the crazy memories over the years.
I don't know what else you can say. I guess good luck going into it. I won't say anything about kicking goals. Or anything. I won't say anything.
Shut up this week.
Oh, God. Got to get through training first, mate.
No excuse with the roof on at Marvel. There's no wind. So if I fuck something up, it's all on me. No, it should be a great week ahead. Congratulations to Steele on 300, though. Absolutely amazing accomplishment. Really excited to be able to share that with his probably 30 family members from Shepparton because he's got that many brothers. I feel like the whole town of Shepparton will come down for his 300th. And
on their John Deeres.
On their John Deeres now. Be Holden Commodores from 1990. Yeah. But no, seriously, absolute shout out to Steel Sidebottom. But later this week, we are going to go into a podcast about my 100th and talk about some of the amazing experiences and deep dive into my career before we have the game over the weekend, which will be exciting. So have a look out for it on Wednesday. When is it launching?
Wednesday, Arvo.
We'll launch it. It'll be a great kind of inside information of the ups, downs, all arounds, the funny stuff. There's been plenty of it over my career.
You've done some weird shit.
There's some weird stuff, very, very weird stuff, exciting stuff also, and the memories we all remember. So it's going to be a good one. Have a look out for it. But I think that's it. I think that's it.
That's it.
Thanks so much for listening in. Like, subscribe, everything on all the different platforms. Braden puts a lot of work into those TikToks, so make sure you do that. There's plenty of following on there. We're always appreciative of everyone sharing with all their friends and families. So a massive, massive thank you, everyone. We look forward to next week talking about the 100th later in the week on Wednesday. and plenty to come from the podcast. So thanks again. Also want to give a shout out to
I was going to say prayers up to North Melbourne's interchange steward.
Yeah, prayers up to North Melbourne's interchange steward. It's been a rough week.